ready, Matt? Sit. I have already had a few people come to me about wanting to do a private mini thesis presentation.
Oh, that's good.
Let me just, no, it's not sweet. Let me just tell you, and I talked with Mrs. Plasman, you don't get that. It's not even on the table. But what, here is what is on the table. And every year I have a few people like this that are really, truly terrified. And so all that means is that you might need a little bit more systematic desensitization. So I am happy to work with people that are really, really nervous. Every year I have people that are, and to date, well, last year we did it on Zoom, but the year before everybody did it live. And so I will work with you, but I just want to save you guys the time. Don't ask me if you can do it private. It's not an option. Okay, Amelia?
Did you ask her if we could like invite a friend from a different class?
So, the answer is like little pieces are coming together. The Monday presenters of that week will be in the ARC, and for the rest of the week, we do have the forum, and we're going to be limited to 10 people.
Per day?
And so 10 people coming in, and that's going to
Is that from your
include
actual class?
2 teachers, and that's going to include potentially 8 parents. And so that's really not.
I'm literally gonna be like sick that day.
Don't let it go down.
Okay, so you guys, let me just tell you something. Let me tell you something. Do you see what I'm doing? I'm already leaning on the podium. That's why I don't want you holding the podium, okay? So you talk with your parents. I respect the conversation you have with your parents and the decision you make with your parents. However, parents are invited, okay?
Wait,
So
but
just know that.
parents will just
Yeah.
wait.
Yeah.
If it's not even
Yeah, I
your
know.
parents, you
That's
don't
so dumb.
Okay, would one person like to speak and tell me why is it wrong for parents to come? John Carter.
Well, you're making it sound like there's not gonna be any students, there's just
Yeah.
8 parents and 2 teachers that make up everyone that's watching.
Well, that's not true. Your whole class will be there also.
Oh,
That's better, that's better. I thought it was like
8 parents.
Right, like.
Oh, 7.
Oh, thank you.
We thought our friends weren't
No,
gonna be
that's
there. Or
so
like,
bad.
No, you guys will be here. Only,
Sucks.
and only your class, so you're only presenting in front of this class, and then there could be 8 parents. There might not be any that come that particular day. There might be 2, but those are the potential. That's why, in answer to Amelia's question, can you have siblings or friends? It's really just going to be open to parents. Okay, Mariah.
I know my classmates. I don't know people's parents. I'm not comfortable speaking in front of people's parents.
Well,
They'll
they're
probably
going to be on the
friends.
edge, and what I would say is you need to look at the people you know then. Some of us, like I actually think it's easier to present in front of people I don't know. I'd rather do that a million
Yeah,
times.
I'd rather
do that, but I know my
parents
extremely well.
Andrew, hey, listen.
So, like, I'm fine with presenting in front of anyone else's parents. I could care less. They don't know me. I don't know them.
Andrew.
But my parents is so nerve-wracking. I can barely watch my Skipper and Morty movies with them because I'm so embarrassed.
Andrew,
Okay.
is
So,
my your
Andrew,
favorite parent?
I had a son that told me that, and I said, fine, I won't come. You have the
My
conversation.
parents are gonna come.
My
Yeah, my parents are still gonna come.
So hold on.
Yeah, I would have a make.
Can I tell you, across the board, anytime I've had parents come, they have never been critical. They have only.
Yeah,
when they're with you, maybe.
when they're with
I
you.
started telling you when that hiked or something.
You're gonna go
Hey, Matt, you've got your hand up.
Yes, I do. Flight is still.
Wow.
Okay, you're very dramatic. Okay, we've had the pause. Go ahead.
What will happen, like, if we get on Monday, whenever we're presenting our introduction, like, how many points will we get off if we have to reach from the actual paper?
Oh, you'll lose a lot of points.
Is it a big grade?
Oh, this Monday.
Yeah.
This Monday, it's 10 points.
Okay, that's fine.
Every time you look down.
This is your delivery criteria. So let's just talk about this for a
I have
second.
another
Wait,
question.
what do you like?
So you want to
I would
clearly
be excited.
articulate your words. That's the whole enunciation. You want to pronounce your words correctly. So if you have any odd words, I have said this before, I'm the queen of mispronunciation. So like the other day, I should have looked up the word jocund. I still haven't looked it up. Jocund. Maybe you know. Maybe you know. Jocund. Jocund. If I was doing a presentation, it was in one of the poems.
It's joking.
Is it jocund?
Oh, yeah.
Yeah.
Jabez Dawes?
No, Jabez Dawes. I'm feeling pretty good about it.
Jokers.
Okay, so you need to make sure you're pronouncing your words correctly. Smooth, fluent speech. So that's the fillers. All of us have these nervous things that we will do. You notice when I speak, I say okay a lot. That is my nervous filler. You want to try to minimize those fillers. Appropriate pace. You don't want to talk really, really fast. You also don't talk like a sloth. Okay.
Gosh.
So your volume needs to be loud enough for the audience, but you don't want to overwhelm us. I've never had anybody do that. And you don't want to be so quiet that we can't
Yeah,
hear
because
you.
I am deaf.
Okay, you want to emphasize keywords and phrases. So we haven't really talked about this, but you know the whole monotone. If you're talking and you have absolutely no intonation and you have the same pitch all the way across. When you pick key words to emphasize, then that gets your audience's attention and it breaks that monotone. Strategic pauses. Matt has modeled that for us this morning. It's good to pause, especially after an important point. Eye contact. Okay, direct and sustained. So let's talk about eye contact. I'm getting ready to give a speech. And I can promise you, as encouraging as Tracy's face is to me, I will not lock eyes with her. Okay? That's going to unnerve me. I'm going to bounce around the room, and it's short. And really, if I was nervous, I would be looking over your head. So you guys have permission to do that. I want you to be looking up. This is what I don't want you to do. Okay? So I want you to be looking up, but if you're looking past people, that's fine. If you're looking at people, make it short. You're bouncing. And by the way, I'm not just talking to these people.
Talking to
I
everyone.
need to be talking to everybody. Posture is strong and relaxed. So all of us have, many of us have nervous things like, well, you guys will demonstrate on Monday. Part of what Monday is about is discovery. Each of us is going to become aware of maybe some blind spots. And then your memory recall is strong. So in answer to Matt's question, what if he stands up and just reads it? Well, you will lose a point. Each one of these things has 1 point. However, in the bigger scheme of things, you'll lose a whole lot on your final presentation. And practicing standing in front of people and having things memorized is really good. Okay, Charlotte, I know you have a haiku.
How long is does the presentation have to be?
8 to 10 minutes. Okay, Andrew?
Like, am I required to do hand gestures, or can I just like sit there on the podium and just read it?
Can I push the podium?
I do not require hand gestures, nor do I require walking, but they are really nice. You can get points for
Wait,
that.
8 to 10
You
minutes?
can gain
It's
points
like-
for
wait,
hand
wait,
gestures?
No, this is for the whole thing.
For the whole thing.
Yeah, wait, with the
Your
one piece
intro,
out?
when you speak on Monday, you will probably speak for less than a minute.
What
Now,
if
you're
we
like,
what if your whole thing Monday?
Wait, what, Rebecca?
Are we supposed to like walk and use our hands on Monday?
No. Monday, remember,
Oh, man.
systematic desensitization. You are literally standing here like this, focused on not holding on to the
We
podium.
can't walk
Oh, yeah, I
around.
love
Mariah.
What if you could use it for like hands on? Like what if you want to do the thing people do where they're making a good point and they like.
I will consider it.
Would you like slam the,
You wanna make, yeah,
Yeah.
that's different from this. Does Mr. Wilby do this a lot? Oh, that's so funny. Okay, so here's, Leah.
Do you need their papers back today?
No, because I still have to do park sheets. And I am very tired of grading right now, but it will be next week.
Hey, we can grade everything for you, so you don't have to.
Can we see what we have right now?
No, because really, like, you could lose points for the park.
Are the people that don't have park sheets grades in there?
No. Just be patient, it's coming.
I can get.
Okay, so, here's what we're gonna do today.
I can get 8 minutes with my intro.
Let me just say again, the whole presentation is 8 to 10 minutes. On Monday, less than a minute. And if your intro is less than a half, and more than a half page, you really need to think about cutting. Okay? Now, if you're like, oh my gosh, I had a whole page, actually, your mini thesis isn't even here. But if you know that it's long, you can email me and I'll say cut this out. But hopefully you've already started memorizing.
Oh, yeah.
So,
Yeah.
Don't tell me otherwise, Alex.
so when I was memorizing my thing, I'm noticing like my introduction, I have like the parentheses, like with the person's, with the author's name in there. Do I have to say like parentheses, like?
We're gonna talk about this
Article
next
parentheses.
week. That's a really good question. You are not gonna do your in-text citations.
Okay.
So you're not gonna say anything in parentheses.
What'd you
But
say?
what you are gonna do, everything that's a direct quote should have a signal phrase. And I think in introductions, those of you that had opened with quotations, you said this quote by blah, blah, blah. So you need to take you need to take your sources that are direct quotes out of parentheses and do a single thing. I'm gonna talk about that next week and you
If
won't
we
be penalized for that.
Say that before, can you show like this, people know it's a quote.
No, we're not gonna do this. No. Okay, Josie?
Sure.
So,
Sure.
I don't know how to ask this question, it's kind of weird, but, so, when we're memorizing it, does it have to be like word for word? Like, is it
No.
supposed to be,
So,
like, so can we like either add like
Modify
something or like leave something out and it's just like,
Yes.
It
Oh,
can be
no.
modified.
Josie, we don't know. We don't have your speech in front of us. All we know is, does it make sense? Or does it
Yes.
seem to skip? So that's one of the beauties of speaking. Like, I've got something in front of me. You guys don't know if I leave something out. Okay, unless it doesn't make sense, then it's very obvious. Tracy?
Wait, in the one page keyword outline, you front and back?
No.
what? That's one page?
Yeah, that's
one
that's
page?
That's all right.
Technically.
Guys, next week I'm gonna show you how to do this. You're not gonna be overwhelmed.
Wait, why?
And can I say the good news, I was looking back at notes from last year, and last year and the year before, I had kind of some mammoth mini thesis, and the first step I gave people to do was to reduce their paper to 5 pages. Most of your mini theses are 5 or less, so that really helps a lot.
Mine's like 6.
But I have a plan for you. Okay, Mariah, listen.
Is it too late to like modify
You
Right,
get
can
on
we
the table.
please, like, if you haven't sent the email out already, can you request to take some parents out?
Classmates, people you see every day is hard enough. Talking in front of parents makes it just.
So like, adults-
Mariah,
Y'all act
okay.
like
No, they're
they're just
not.
so-
Let me just tell you, you guys.
They're horrible.
I have beef with the
Yeah.
Listen, there are powers above me.
Like
And
super.
there are programs, expectations. This is like your keystone project in 8th grade. So I can't go above me and say, hey, we don't want parents, and we want to do private mini thesis presentations. That's part of the program I inherited when I
I thought
took
you
it.
were like the person who runs it.
I do,
Yeah, this
but
has to
I came into a program that had been established.
Yeah, with coronavirus, I think it'll be too packed. I don't think we should invite parents.
Yeah. And then we can just put it on there, and we can just project it for
Because you're not remote students.
Oh,
Okay.
Andrew Hill's so freaking.
So, Mariah?
I just think, like,
Mariah.
adults are just great to talk to normally, giving a speech. Just like,
If you would like,
I would like one of those.
hey, you guys, listen. Anxiety is driving this class right now.
You are correct.
So let me tell you, when I invite your parents, I am going to share with them in the invitation that I would like them to ask you and to consider what will be best for you. And I'm going to share with them that I did not go to one of my 8th graders' mini thesis presentations at his request. So I am going going to lean on your side, but they do get that invitation. I'm also gonna tell them that I don't judge them if they don't come. Some parents feel like they need to perform, so I'll say, listen, it's okay. You have a good reason. So I'm just gonna ask you guys to be good communicators. Tell your parents, hey, this would make me really nervous. But they are invited. Okay, Andrew.
So, like, will I get, points count off for this? If I'm reading, my main design, just go, clear articulation of words. Like, if I fumble on a word, like, that's not composition, that's a me problem. Do I get points counted off for that?
If it happens repeatedly, but if it happens one or two times,
Yeah, like, if I have an issue.
Don't mess up, don't mess up, don't mess up.
Yeah, but like,
Really?
it's just, that's something I can like learn from composition.
we're going, no, yeah, but now we're in public speaking and we're gonna practice. We're going to practice. Okay, Josie.
So let's say like your parent doesn't give you a choice and they just say they're coming even if you don't want.
My mom and dad are gonna do that.
My parents.
Yeah, they're gonna
my
think
parents.
Then that is a family problem that I will not step into. I'm sorry. I'm sorry. And they will be so proud of you. Okay, you guys, if you will give, Charlotte, can you do your haiku? Okay, Charlotte's gonna stand up and do her haiku real quick. Would you guys please listen?
Is class over?
No. So,
You were close, guys.
Charlotte, you
yeah, we're not there yet. So you guys are going to kind of judge me. I'm gonna give a speech, and then we're gonna talk about, I'm gonna talk about what kind of audience you were for me, Dominic. And then you are going to give me feedback because I really believe in putting myself in your shoes.
Constructive criticism.
So I'm gonna stand up here and I'm gonna talk about something, and it's going, well, I'll talk about this in a moment. Charlotte, go ahead.
Okay. School is just so fun. I learn lots in the classroom. I love school so much.
Wow, that is dripping with sincerity. Okay, wait, there we go. Okay, Andrew, thank you, Charlotte.
So are we judging you as you're reading it, or like, cause like, can we like go boo, or like after?
If you boo her, Andrew, you get a fail.
Andrew, I think you're gonna get a fail.
If you boo her, you fail.
Why would you do that?
Why would you boo anyone? Andrew?
I know, that's like the part of
What if it's
judging
just
you.
that
If
bad?
somebody was that bad, they deserve your sympathy, not your condemnation.
When I hear judging,
Okay, so you guys, so a couple weeks ago, God really laid on my heart to share my testimony with you all. And so when I wanted to do a sample speech, I just felt like I could have given you an academic speech because that's what you're doing.
That's making fun of my face.
Okay, you're not being a good audience member. Matt, walk around. So, but here's the great thing. I stand up and I talk in front of you guys every day about academic things, but I don't talk to you about personal things. So this puts me in a position of maybe being a little bit more nervous, feeling a little bit more foolish, as you may feel when you give your mini thesis, okay? So this is a trial run. Even though this isn't a mini thesis topic, this is me, but it does feel vulnerable. So here's what I want to say. The first inclination somebody has when they stand up to speak, and a couple of you did it yesterday, is to make themselves small and say, this isn't good. Oh, this is really stupid. Oh, you guys are gonna laugh. Okay, because it feels vulnerable and we're trying to cut the tension. So it's really important to try to resist that. I'm going to resist that, okay? But this is real. This isn't like just a speech I made up. This is real. So, for all my drawing people, would you stop drawing? For all my doodlers, would you stop doodling? But you are welcome to write things down, and this is going to be how we do it. I'm gonna ask that everybody give one positive, well, think about one positive thing and one negative thing when you guys do your introduction. So you can do that, and I don't need a ton of feedback, but I am trying to put myself in your shoes. Okay? You guys ready?
What are we doing?
You don't have to write on that.
Oh.
You're welcome to. I've got more. I'm not taking it up. It's not a grade.
Oh.
Okay. Tracy.
On Monday, we're writing something negative about people's introduction.
Oh my gosh, I'm not gonna be able to take that.
Yeah, I can.
No. On Monday, when you give an introduction, I will be the one that fills out this form.
Oh.
And I will ask you guys, hey, what are one or two
Oh,
positive
we used to
things
do
that you
this.
saw Dominic do? What is one thing he could improve? That's how it's gonna be.
Oh, that's the same thing as negative.
No, negative is saying like you sucked, this was horrible.
No, negative
So you
is
can improve is be like,
No, it's.
I would
Anything
like
that's
speak
not-
up or something.
I'd really-
Yes.
Guys,
You could have done this better. You could have
This is a nice
stood.
way of saying you can do that. Okay, thank you, Alex. That would be negative.
Yes.
And what we're talking about is something that could be improved. So I'm going to tell you, you are welcome to give me that feedback, okay? Just something good, something that could be improved. Part of it is, I want you guys to model. It is hard, okay? But we can learn from one another. Okay, so, Alex, can you kind of watch the clock and see how the time goes, just so you guys can get an idea if this is how long you're gonna talk. God works everything together for good for those who are called according to his purposes. This was one of my favorite verses when I was growing up. I grew up in a family with 2 sisters and a brother and 2 parents that loved themselves, so it was very easy for me to believe that God was good. The hardest thing I confronted in my childhood was moving around, lots. By the time I started 3rd grade, I had attended 5 schools. And I hated moving because moving meant new friends. And I was very shy. The summer that my family moved from Oklahoma to Colorado, I started 3rd grade. And the next summer, I broke my arm. Running through the sprinkler in my backyard, I fell and broke my arm. And that was a real bummer because not only did I get a cast, but we were moving again. And I was starting a new school. So in 4th grade, I started with a cast on my arm. And when all the kids were out at recess making friends, I had to sit inside with my cast. So 4th grade was a really lonely year for me. But I loved Colorado. I could see the mountains from my backyard. We could get in the car and be in the foothills in 20 minutes. My family did lots of camping and hiking and fishing. And even though I lived in Denver, I lived across from a canal where there was miles of bike trails, water, horses, and farms. So I could tell you a lot about my childhood, but I want to tell you about my middle school years. Once upon a time, I was a middle school student. And actually, back in those days, it wasn't called middle school, it was called junior high, 7th through 9th grade. And my elementary school, Ben Franklin Elementary, split between 3 junior highs, and so I was very thankful that I had a few friends to go to junior high with. But that didn't really help me, because my junior high was really big. I had no friends in my classes, and no friends during my lunch period. I was starting over, and I was still shy. Those were hard years for me. I did not know how to talk to people. I didn't know to say, how are you? How was your weekend? I was so shy that I used to sit in class and write notes to myself. And once there was a new girl in our school, and I wrote notes to her and didn't sign them and put them in her locker to try to encourage her, just in case she was lonely too. So if I could have had a superpower in junior high, mine would have been to disappear. The trouble was, I was really tall, and I kind of stuck out. And my biggest nightmare every year was the basketball unit in PE, where I would be the first girl to be chosen for the team. But that only happened once, because then people would realize that my height was surpassed by my lack of coordination. It is hard to be tall and awkward in middle school, but add to that glasses and braces, and it wasn't a very lovely picture. And I won't even start with the haircuts my mom subjected me to. If you could have seen me back then, you would have said for sure I was a nerd. I loved learning, but I was too shy to answer any questions in class. I would never raise my hand. I played violin in orchestra, and I competed on the school spelling bee team. And in 8th grade, I remember going to a tournament, and in one of the rounds, they gave me the word accommodate, and I only put one C in it, and I sat down. I had a few friends, miraculously, but I didn't really like them. And I didn't feel like anybody really knew me. And sometimes I had these really dark thoughts. What if I got really sick and I went to the hospital? I wonder if anybody would notice that I wasn't here anymore. When I was in 8th grade, my mom and dad took a trip to Asheville, North Carolina. And when they came back, they showed us pictures of North Carolina. And I decided all my problems would be solved if I could move to North Carolina. But that didn't happen. That spring, I graduated from junior high, and I made a huge decision. Now, this may seem odd to you, some of you, but some of you may totally get this. I decided I was going to a new school, and I would reinvent myself. I was tired of being shy and awkward. My braces were coming off. My parents said I could get contacts. I grew my hair out. I could buy new clothes. I could sport a different look. But how could I overcome my fear of people? Well, I was a nerd at heart, so I did what I knew best. I got a book off my parents' bookcase called How to Win Friends and Influence People by Dale Carnegie. Yep, I thought if I read a book and took some notes, I could learn how to talk to people. I could overcome my shyness. But I also did something else, very radical. Something so terrifying, no one that knew me in junior high would imagine I would do this. But I knew it would give me a guaranteed outcome. I joined the high school speech and debate team. I faced my fear of speaking by writing speeches and going to tournaments to compete. And I will never forget my first speech meet when I sat in the classroom like this with people I didn't know. My heart was pounding. I was so glad I hadn't eaten breakfast because I was sure I would throw up. And my only comfort was that I was in a room of strangers, and if I messed up, I didn't have to ever see them again. Well, competing on the speech team, it did help me, but it didn't completely cure my sadness, my shyness. It was still hard for me to make small talk and say hi to people in the hall, but facing my fears did give me an ounce of courage, and that little bit of courage grew into confidence, and I acquired more confidence and more friends. So you may be sitting there wondering, why am I telling you such a depressing story? Well, there are two reasons. One is when I was a teenager, feeling bad about myself, I made some really wrong agreements. I grew up believing in God, I went to church, I read my Bible, but because I was so disappointed in myself, I believed that God was really disappointed in me. And when I made that decision to reinvent myself for high school, I decided I needed to clean myself up for God too, that I needed to be a good girl. I wanted people to like me, I wanted God to be proud of me, and the agreement I made was a lie. I believed that if I kept the rules and I worked really hard, that God would approve of me. So I tried to be a good girl for God, and in the process, I became a fake, and I put a lot of pressure on myself, and eventually a lot of despair. But the second reason I want to tell you this story is because I want to give you a perspective that comes with age. When I was in 8th grade, and I was shy and insecure and awkward, I know now God was not disappointed with me. In fact, He was working out all those details as part of a bigger plan. And there was one huge miracle in my life that underscored that God was for me, and it really changed my life forever. And it happened my senior year in high school. When it came time to apply for colleges, I never forgot my dream of moving east, specifically to North Carolina. And let me tell you, that was a dream because my whole family lived in Oklahoma. Everybody had gone to Oklahoma State. North Carolina was 2,000 miles away. But I did my research, and I decided that the school for me was the University of North Carolina in Chapel Hill. And I will never forget going to my school counselor, Mrs. Karras, and saying, I found the school. It's so pretty. Look at these buildings. This is where I want to go. And she looked at me and said, you have good grades, but I don't think you could ever get into that school. UNC just doesn't accept very many students from out of state. And then she told me there was a nearby private school that might accept me, Duke University. And despite the enormous price tag, somehow my parents let me apply. So I went through my senior year. I applied to only 3 colleges. I didn't visit any of them. I did not get into Princeton. I was deferred by Duke, and I got accepted at Colorado College and got a scholarship. It was clear I was going to stay in Colorado for college. And my parents told me this was probably for the best because my dad had lost his job several months earlier, and really they couldn't afford to send me east to college. So I thought I had accepted this. 2 months later, I came home one May morning or evening from the Colorado State speech tournament because I still loved speech and debate. And my parents called me into their bedroom. They had a large manila envelope. And they said, we need to tell you something. You're not going to be able to go to Colorado College this fall. And in my heart, I was like, oh my gosh, because my dad lost his job. Like, we don't have any money, even though I've got a scholarship. But then they said, today we got this letter from Duke, and they have admitted you for the fall. And they didn't give you any financial aid, but we can pay for 1 semester. And if you're willing to take a chance that the financial aid will come through for 2nd semester, you have our blessing to go. Now, did I mention my dad is an accountant? That is a huge risk to take. That was a huge God-sized miracle on so many levels, that my parents would let me go 2,000 miles away and that they would be willing to take that financial risk. And what happened to me at Duke is a story for another day. But here's what I wish I could go back and tell my 8th grade self, and here's what I want to tell you guys today. There's 3 things I want to tell you. One is, God doesn't make mistakes. And no matter how you feel about yourself, no matter what you wish you could change about yourself, every aspect of you was made with great intention. He made me tall. He made me awkward. He made me shy. It all served a purpose. God has a perfect plan that includes your strengths and weaknesses. Second thing, facing your fears grows your faith. There's another verse in the Bible I love. 1 Corinthians 12:9 says, my grace is sufficient for you. My power is made perfect in your weakness. Therefore, I will boast all the more gladly in my weakness, so the power of Christ may dwell upon me. So the things that you think are weaknesses that you wish you could change is where God's power is going to be displayed in your life, even if you don't see it right now. And the third thing, the last thing, is that everyone's changing. The slightly obnoxious girl in my 7th grade English class eventually became my best friend, and we would be in each other's weddings, we vacation with their families. I would never have seen that coming. So everybody, well, no one is the best version of themselves in 8th grade. And everybody around you, including yourself, is in the process of changing. So give grace to yourself. Give grace to others, and know that the best version of you is being grown by God, and you will be the best version of yourself surrendered to God. The end. How long was it?
Well, it was like from 35 to about 42. So
No.
47?
It was more
It was
closer
that-
to
Maybe
starting
10
to
minutes?
You
probably
should have some habits.
Yeah, around 10 minutes.
Okay.
So
That was really good.
Okay. So now you guys know a little bit about me. So let me just tell you, it's really scary to stand up in front of people. And I knew if I talked about something personal, I would feel some nervousness. and I did it. Okay? So, okay, I'm gonna give you two things. One is you can ask me questions about my story. Two is, did you see any nervous habits that I could do differently? No, they're there. Okay, we'll start with Leah.
I thought it was so good, and I just thought it was cool that you could share that. But there was like, you said a little bit, but other than that, it was like perfect.
I didn't say okay.
You didn't say okay a lot. I
But you
literally
said it once or twice.
Yeah, you said like once or twice.
Yeah. So you guys, I'm glad you could hear that everybody does filler. Dominic.
So one positive thing was you were always looking around at the audience and like looking at us for a few seconds and then switching. And then one thing I thought you could do is just use more hand gestures.
Okay, good. Use more hand gestures. Now I'm going to tell you hand gestures you have to really think about. You have to be intentional unless you're a hand talker. Okay? Alex.
What was the scholarship for?
It was like an academic scholarship to Colorado College. It wasn't a full scholarship or anything, but
What was the one to do?
I did not get a scholarship to Duke, let the
okay, 'cause you
record
wanted
show. But I will tell you that after I got into Duke, we didn't get financial aid. Then I got financial aid for the rest of my time at Duke, and I did work study and graduated with very little debt. So, Mariah?
So, I mean, for the habit thing, you stomped your foot, but I don't know if that was for.
Did I?
So, yeah.
Okay. I think the stomping, it's really hard, and you guys are gonna notice when you stand up here, it's really easy to shift weight. It's kind of hard, and so I might have just been trying to break that of shifting weight. Okay, Tracy?
Wait, well, you did really well. I don't know if we're allowed to do this, but I think you started a few sentences with so.
Yes. I bet I did. I do that often in conversation. So, see how good you guys are? You're like picking up on detail.
Also, can I use the bathroom?
You may. Andrew?
So, you fumbled like maybe one word. I mean, like you mixed up like shyness with sadness once, but
Yeah.
like other than that, it was awesome.
Okay, so you can stumble. Yeah. Yeah. Josie?
So I noticed that at the very beginning, you were like, I don't know, looking down more and more nervous habits. Towards the end, it was much more comfortable and much more, just normal, I guess, how you normally
I'm
talk.
so glad you guys said that because you are going to find exactly the same thing. This is a rule of public speaking. The starting is the worst part. It's like jumping into a pool where you're like, whoa, that was cold. But then once you get into it, it's so much easier. Okay? Ian?
I thought it was great, and you looked around a lot, but there was like one paragraph that you just completely were looking down at the podium.
Was it at the end?
I was more in the middle.
Yeah. So, yeah. I remember when you, and I didn't practice this very much, but when you get nervous, all of us have that tendency of like, let me find that word, okay? The other thing is, this was not in a keyword outline. It's really, really hard to like find your place. I used it as a keyword outline, but a keyword outline is gonna make you look up a little bit more. Okay, good feedback. Matt?
I thought you thought that was really, really good. So
Oh.
a lot of like emotion.
Okay.
I felt for it. It was cool.
Okay,
I
good.
don't have anything to add to it.
Thank you. Amelia?
You had good volume, I'm pretty sure everyone could like hear you, and it was like a good, like it wasn't too loud or too like soft, like, and like a good speed and everything.
Okay. Yeah, volume is really important. Junker?
So at the beginning, you had like your hands behind your back, kind of, and then you did that for most of the time, and then you started to get out of that habit, and then some hand gestures, and all in all, I thought it was very good, except I don't know if it's like a nervous tick or something like that, but we all have something at the beginning in a sense. But did anyone else, you go like before you say a sentence or something, and I don't know if that's just like something you can't
Are you saying?
control. Yeah.
Oh, I do that when I finish a thought, like when I'm thinking of something.
Does anyone else do that?
Oh, you guys, so
Yeah.
when I was in college, my junior year, I had some friends do a surprise party for me, and it was very embarrassing. They toasted me, and there was this guy that stood up and said, yeah, anytime I talked, that the squirrels would come running because I did that. And I haven't even thought about it until then. So possibly. You guys, this is what's so valuable. There are things you're making me aware of, and we're gonna help make you, okay? So I'm sitting here, I'm receiving this. You guys can sit here and receive this also. Becca.
I thought it was very like captivating. I mean, like the story was captivating, so like that fit into it. But like the way that you were talking about it, and like it was about your life, so it was you were like being vulnerable. But I just thought like the way you were telling the story was very captivating.
Yeah, sometimes vulnerability makes people listen more, but it also is hard for the speaker. So, Mariah?
Yeah, no, I was gonna say like Matt and like Becca were talking about, you did a good job with the whole emoji thing, so you made me sad.
Yeah,
I understand.
What?
You were doing like the 3 things at the end that
Yeah.
made me sad.
That's like every.
Oh, but those were good points, right?
They're good, but it still makes me sad.
Yeah. Alex!
This is kind of like about like our like mini thesis.
Hey guys, listen.
It's kind of about like our KWO. I have a 7.5 page one that I have to condense into one.
Yeah, we should talk.
How do you do
It's double spaced, so I probably could take
You know,
that out, and
Alex,
then start
I
putting
have
that.
given you so much feedback about that. But for the intro,
Intro's like 5.
your intro's short, isn't it?
Yeah.
Okay, so really, I'm gonna give it back and show you, but I see a path for you
Alright.
for shortening it, okay?
Because I might need 2 pages because I have a 7.5
Nope,
page.
nope, we're gonna get it shorter. Leah?
Okay, I will say about like the like emotion thing, you made it so relatable that like it kind of just like, wow, like, oh my gosh.
I know. People don't talk.
Because like you're a composition teacher now, like I knew you liked writing, but you have to talk about speaking now.
Well, yeah, but I like, you guys, I'm teaching writing because people want me to teach writing. I'm a history major, speech and debate person.
And
This
the
is
fact
not
that
my,
you just did that for us is very, very, very kind.
well, thank you. I haven't ever done that. You guys are my test pilot. So, okay, Amelia, and then I've got one more thing to say.
I just think it's like so crazy that you used to be so shy and now like I feel like you're a lot more.
Can you
outgoing.
believe it?
You seem like an
It's like-
extrovert.
Yeah,
Can
like,
you believe
You
it?
seem very outgoing.
And I like people now,
Wait, so are you gonna be
which
saying
is
this?
crazy.
Are you gonna be saying this testimony in the other 2 classes?
Yeah, oh, you guys.